everyone, and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot. Today an exciting video for you as we take a look at the newly released IniBuilds T-33 Shooting Star. This is a single engine jet advanced trainer. It originally flew in 1948, so it is an old and interesting airplane just for its heritage and being such one of the first single engine jet aircraft out there in the US Armed Forces. It has recently retired. I say recently, 2017, which is a while ago now, was its last flight in service with an Air Force, and it is a big piece of aviation history. Today we're going to take it for a flight from here in Miramar over to San Diego and put on a little bit of an air show. It does come with some cool, unique features such as having smoke, so we can make that happen out of the box. I'm a real-world airline pilot, but of course none of this is for any real-world use, and likewise, I usually try and give you some extra context on your home simulations, but I have not flown an advanced jet trainer, so I am afraid there'll be not so much of my day-to-day tidbits about how flying is, but hopefully I can give you an idea of whether this airplane is something you'd be interested in. I bought this airplane with my own money. This is not sponsored. These are my own opinions on this aircraft and this add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I bought it for £20 plus tax. Now, it's a bit of a shame, I think, still that IniBuilds still advertise this on their store as the price without tax and then add the tax at the checkout. I know that's the case in a lot of parts of the world, but it's just unusual in the UK. So I do wish they would just show the full price that I'm going to pay, but there we go. So it came to just over £20 to buy at the Ini store. You can also buy it on Xbox. If you buy it on PC, you do get the addition of some weapons that can go under the wings. This aircraft does have two hardpoints, so one on each wing where you can fit either rockets or bombs. On the Xbox version, you can't do that, which is pretty common to Microsoft Flight Simulator military aircraft. This was used by a lot of air forces, and a lot of nice liveries are included by IniBuilds, and it was used by loads and loads of places, including Canada, Greece, Norway, Singapore, Italy, Chile, Japan, Spain, and the last Air Force it was in was the Bolivian Air Force, so there we go. It's been replaced eventually by the T-38 Talon. Boeing also used the T-33 as a chase aircraft for a long time, including for the first flights of the Boeing 787 aircraft, which is the aircraft I currently fly in the real world in my day job. It is a maximum weight on this airplane of around about 6.8 tons, so not very heavy. It has a centrifugal flow jet engine. Now, these are rare, very old design. Basically, only the first jet engines used it, where instead of having a spinning fan at the front and then squeezing the air as it goes through the engine, sort of from front to back, so the air goes in like this and squeezes, and then it gets compressed, ignited, and sent out the back. What they do on centrifugal engines is it goes in and then is spun outwards from the compressor. So it's out to the edges where it's compressed and then ignited and sent out the back. So a less efficient, less powerful design, but certainly a common design in the early days of the jet engine. So a little bit of history there with this aircraft. Nevertheless, it did climb up to 48,000 feet and could do 600 miles an hour at sea level. So it is a fast airplane. It's also very maneuverable, as we can see here in this lovely Thunderbirds livery. We are at Miramar, like I say, going down to San Diego for our air show. I appreciate this is a naval station, not an Air Force station, but we're on a bit of an away day. We're going to come and show them what we can do as part of the US Air Force Thunderbirds. Now, I've changed stand slightly just as we carry on the video, but don't worry about that. We're still here in Miramar with our F-18s. So inside, let's get the airplane set up for a walk around. If you click on this little screw down here, it brings up the canopy, and then the EFB on the canopy, and then in here you can see the time, the Zulu time and the local time. You can choose your payload on the outside, choose whether you have flares, aerobatic string, a luggage pod, engine covers. So if you put everything on, chocks, pins, engine covers, luggage pod, and I'll just show you what these all are on the outside. So really nice rain cover. I do really like that over the top of the windows. Adds a bit of detailing to this airplane. We've also got the engine covers installed with remove before flight tags, the pitot cover here on the front, and then you've got the pins in the landing gear, so this prevents the landing gear from being retracted even without hydraulic pressure. It's just sort of a mechanical stop. So there's one in there, one in there. This chrome thing underneath is a luggage pod. If you're using this for civilian reasons, you could take luggage with you on the outside because, of course, being a military aircraft, it doesn't have any proper storage inside of the airplane for you. We've also got chocks on the wheels as well. So let's jump back in and remove all of those, and then we can have a look at the exterior. So no luggage pod, no engine covers, no rain cover, no chocks, no pins. Lovely. Now outside, you'll see that this is a nicely proportioned model. It does indeed look like the Lockheed T-33 Shooting Star that we are hoping it to. I'm always looking for just the proportions and silhouette to look right, and of course they do. I'm sure it's measured far more accurately than just looking right. So it's really, really super. A distinctive airplane, especially with those big fuel pods on the end of the wingtips. As we get closer, we'll see some of the more details about this aircraft. They've done a good job with the liveries. there are plenty of liveries included, including different air forces, but you'll see that the PBR texturing and different ways the light bounces off the material is done really, really nicely. You can see here the red and blue paint slightly different to the white paint texturing, the way the sun reflects off it. Likewise, the bare metal on the wing, bit more shiny and reflects light differently. And then you have this sort of grip tape here, this matte effect. I'm not sure if it is grip tape. On a general aviation airplane, you would walk along that to get in, but here we'd have a ladder to get into the cockpit, so not sure what that was used for. Equally visible if you come around the front. Look here, you can see shiny red and then the matte black for the black paint on the nose pieces there. This adds up to some nice detailing. It's also visible in front of the pilot here. This is quite common if you're going to paint white around the nose of an airplane, to put a black sort of area like this to stop the glare bouncing off the nose into the pilot's eyes and sort of dazzling them. You used to see it on some airliners as well, although it's less common these days. I don't think the paint is quite as shiny as perhaps it once was. So overall, very nice, and it's, like I say, lots of nice liveries included in this aircraft already. As we move around the detailing, you'll see things like this nose gear are really exceptional. I think they've done a fantastic job. It's one of the best tyres I've ever seen in the simulator. Even got the, of course, the paint strip to check whether it's creeping around the wheel hub or not. As we move around, there are some areas that I find a little bit more bland than others. So as we come out to the wings, we just have the sort of this standard look that we see quite often on Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft now. I think it's to do with the way Microsoft Flight Simulator renders these textures, but there we go. And nothing wrong with it at all. It's just notable that it looked quite similar to quite a few aircraft we have seen. But like I say, really elevated by the texturing of the PBR as we get like the different textures from the matte paint there and then the shiny metal. So not a problem at all, but yeah, something that we have seen before in other aircraft. And then as we come around to the main gear bay, some nice modelling, some nice pipes and so on. Nothing too dramatic going on in here, but there are some nice decals scattered about as well, fuel pump adapter access, things like that. As we move around the airplane, there's the flare dispensers there fitted to the outside. So yeah, very nice. Flare dispensers presumably because this airplane could be used for towing targets as well, for training. So overall, a nice exterior model. It's got some nice detailing on the little bits of addition, such as the rain cover and the flares and so on. But also, so, like I say, really impressed with the paintwork, the liveries that they've added to it. Let's jump in and get the airplane up and running. Surprisingly simple to do, as you'll see why. Okay, so no payload. We've got the airplane set up as we want it. Now to get in and out, we need to actually turn the airplane on first, but you'll see that we can do that using the checklist system. Always a big bonus. So before engine start checklist, now this is essentially checking everything is down, set and off. So I'm going to leave that alone and say it's all done, but we'll go straight through to engine start where we power on the airplane. First of all, down here, we're going to put the main battery on. Click. I'm also going to increase the sounds for you just so you get an idea of what this airplane is like. There's some really good sounds throughout. This is going to be one of the strong points of this airplane for me, the audio. So battery switch on, tick, and then generator, and look, you can just click on the little eye and it shows you. So generator should be on, so put that on. Throttle at idle. I love this system. Throttle is at idle. Ignition booster switch off over here. Ignition booster is in the off position. That will be used when we actually start the engine. Fuselage fuel tank is over here, and we're going to put that to fuse. So I lift that up to the fuselage tank. Tick. Other fuel tanks off, which is these switches here. They are all in the off position. And then the starter switch start. It's that easy. How easy is that? All we've done is turn on the battery and we've given it the generator ready to go and set up the starter for the engine start. So no APU here. We're just using battery. We need to get that engine up and running fairly quickly. So let's do it. Let's put the starter switch to start. So to do that, we lift up the starter, and if I move the camera around, it gets a little bit easier. And then I'm going to just move it to the right to start. If I can get the arrow just right. It's not easy to do. There. On. Now we can see the RPM increasing ever so gradually. Once it reaches 9%, so we tick that at 9% ignition, we put the ignition switch to normal. So that's our ignition switch, goes to normal. Now the engine can start. It's so straightforward. I'm really impressed. At 17% RPM, which is now passing there, we put the starter switch should be back to normal. Now I'm not sure if it would automatically do that or not, but we have to do it ourselves in this case. If I can get the switch right. This is a little hard to use, so I'm going to close that. It's in the normal position, or released. At 45%, well, it's just going to sit at about 25%. So we'll check the T's and P's later. But that is the engine up and running. Done. Next is the engine warm-up. So communications equipment can go on. That's all down here. Here's all your radios. You've got your navigation, which we'll use, and we'll talk about the actual radio system in a moment. Throttle, this is a power check really. You do 68%. So we'll do that now, shall we? Check it's clear behind us. Let's just cage our artificial horizon. All clear around. Let's give it a bit of a rev up to 68%. It's a very responsive engine. It does react quite quickly. I'm quite impressed with it. Look at that. Down a little bit, up a little bit. 68%. And then we just idle it. Check nothing dramatic happens. It's sort of stable and running. Pressures, temperatures checked. So you've got oil pressure down here, fuel pressure. Then you've got your engine exhaust temperature. All looking good. Dive flaps, that's over here. So you can put the dive flaps down, which are effectively the speed brakes. So if I click that, you'll see them deploy down here. These are your air brakes or your dive flaps, just to keep the speed under control when you are in a strong dive. There we go, get rid of those. And then we'll check our normal flaps as well. So the switches over here, you can run them all the way down. And then we have an indicator here, check they go down, and then we'll set them to 60% for takeoff. We can also, while we're waiting for those, go to the inverter switch and put it to main. That's effectively sorting out our generating for the flight. So there we go, up to main. Good. Flaps have come down, all in the down position. There they are. They are big flaps on this airplane, but they are split flaps, which is a very old style. Don't see that much anymore. So flaps going to 60%. 2 notches up. 3 notches up. There we go, 60. Good. And that is the warm-up done. Next is going to be the takeoff checklist. So we'll just taxi out to the runway and get that done. Let's get rid of our little EFB. We don't need that. It's all clear on the left. It's all clear on the right. We're going to taxi out between these F-18s, giving us a guard for takeoff. Now what we're going to do is take off and head down to San Diego Airport, where we're going to imagine that they've given us a bit of a special permission to do an air show. I know that's a bit silly because, of course, you could do an air show here at Miramar, but we're going to go and do it actually in San Diego itself. I think that could be quite good fun. So, there we go. You can actually sit in the back seat of this airplane as well. If I throttles to idle, I'll just bring the camera back. Look at this. You get effectively the same flight deck because this is a flying trainer. So there's not a navigator or a Rio sitting back here. It is an actual trainer. So yeah, it has the option to take over, and you can fly the airplane completely from back here. You've got your flaps, your throttles. It is just seems to be pretty much a repeat of the front of the airplane. So there you go. But we're going to fly from the front seat today. Now we're lining up out on the runway. I'm not sure we have actual scenery here. I love those wing pods. I think they look absolutely awesome. Also, by the way, the texturing in the flight deck is really, really nice. As you look all around, the chips of metal and so on, the different, look at the grip on this handle, just super. I think they've done an excellent job on the interior of the flight deck. I think it actually stands out really, really nicely as one of the better interiors I've seen in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So very happy to report that. Let's now bring the nose round, and then we'll come to stop on the runway and get things like our it's quite sluggish on the taxi, and some of this style of aircraft I don't know if it had hydraulic nose gear steering or what it had, but yeah, it does feel quite heavy. Let's get it lined up. There we go. Wow. Set the park brake. Okay, now we're going to carry on with that checklist and get it done. So pitot static heaters need to go on, wing flaps at 60%, which we've done. Taxi lights, where are the light switches? I haven't actually seen those. Where is that taxi light? I don't know, I'm probably looking at it. I'm terrible. Finding lights remains the hardest thing ever to find in any airplane. But there we go. There we go, landing light, taxi light. Oh, we'll put it to landing. There we go. They can go. Oh, taxi light off, landing light on. Navigation lights, where are they? They can go to bright. They're over here, of course. Why would they not be? So we'll put them on steady and bright. And we've lined up canopy and then engine check. We're just going to run the engine to full power and check all the temperatures and pressures. Then we're just going to take off. So that's it. Checklist done for now. We're going to go and fly a little air show. Now we're going to navigate down to the Poggi VOR, which is just south of San Diego. In fact, let me show you using the VFR map. That'll be simpler. So we are here at Miramar. We're going to head south to the Poggi VOR somewhere here, then fly in around the city and do our display over the San Diego runway just to see how this airplane flies and handles. To do that, I'm going to tune the VOR 116.45. Now, this is a little bit unusual. We're going to tune it down here, 116. You have to pretend that the 1 is already taken care of, so we're looking for 116. So we just need 16, and then it's 45. So let's see if I can make that happen. Okay, we got there in the end, 116.45, and that should now give me a distance, and the VOR is now going to show on this needle here. So we'll point towards it. I do have tutorials on following VOR needles, but I'll show you once we're in the air. I'll also show you how there's actually a way to bring up a whole new flight deck. If I click on this button, you can actually set yourself, look at this, to have a normal sort of Garmin style modern flight deck. And you could do a direct to, and we could type in the waypoint ourselves. How neat is that? And you can go in and build a flight plan and all the good things you want to do. You can have your more traditional style PFD over here, electronic displays and temperatures, with some old dials still mixed in. But I'm not going to fly it like this, and I think anyone who's watched my channel would know that the way it's sort of bolted in front of the old one. Oh, absolutely not. No, we're going to go with the original. So our artificial horizon here, which is really quite something. And then we've got the RMI needles. So that's going to point at that VOR I've just tuned with our distance shown down here. We've got our smoke buttons over here, and we're going to fly the airplane like it is, like it was intended originally. Good. So let's get going. Okay, so here we go. We're going to spool up the engine. We're going to go to 100%. You'll see here it does sort of shoot through and then comes back under control. I'm not sure if that's realistic to the real airplane. I've just gone to full throttle. There we go. So it should stabilise around 100%. Our exhaust gas is looking good. Fuel pressure, oil pressure, all good. Let's release the brake. And away we go. It's a noisy aeroplane, but I do like the sound effects they've given it. Roll on the runway now. Straight with the rudder. It has nice ground handling. If you see here, it's quite gentle in its response. So I think they've done a good job with that. Oh, that's the cable for aircraft landing. We're doing a bit of drifting here after that. That's not good. So let's get ourselves rotated and in the air. I'm sure we are far too fast here. So, positive rate of climb. Gear coming up. Retract the flaps. And retract the flaps again. Lots of flaps to bring in. I'm surprised it needs 60% to take off, but there we go. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we oversped those flaps there. Let's bring the throttle back a bit and just get it smoothed out. Now, something I've noticed with this aeroplane is it is very responsive in pitch. I would say a little too responsive. So you have to either be very smooth with your joystick, otherwise you'll be able to just do this and you'll just be wobbling about all over the place. Or IniBuilds recommend that you can actually, if you add in a reduced sensitivity, so it just softens out the center part of the joystick. So I've left my controls as it was, and I just move them a little bit more smoothly, aware of the fact that it's possible to over control quite easily. They actually have spoken with and consulted with a real-world pilot of the T-33 to get the flight dynamics right. So we have to trust that this is a reasonable representation of the flight model of the aircraft, and it is just a case of modifying your controls to make sure that they are something sensible. If you feel like they're a little bit too twitchy, yeah, try reducing the sensitivity. I find that's most noticeable just after takeoff, but once you have a bit of airspeed, this becomes actually a relatively sluggish aeroplane, which I really like. It feels like there's weight behind it. It feels like the controls are a little bit heavy. I don't know if the real aircraft was like that or not. Oh, there's our connection gone. Hopefully that returns in a moment. But yeah, if you see here, if I go to maximum roll, that's full roll, and that's what we get. And then I let it go, and there we go. So this is not an F-16. It is a early days, one of the first post-war jet trainers. And this is what you get out of it. I really, really, really like the way it handles once you're underway. Like I say, just be gentle on the pitch, and you'll find that it's just lovely. Look at this, and we can just bring it up, roll it onto the back. No trouble at all. Very stable, very easy to trim out as well. This is a great airplane for learning to even just fly a jet aircraft in, because it's just lovely. It's very much point and shoot where you want it to go. Look at that. I could do this all day. So yeah, they've definitely got the handling of the aircraft correct once you're in the air. Absolutely love it. Like I say, the takeoff roll was nice too. Sounds are also super, as you're hearing. Now what I want to do is head over to that VOR. So my needle is saying we need to go on to 120. I can also tune the VOR. So to navigate, I'm going to fly towards this VOR by pointing towards this needle, because I've tuned it down here on my nav console, down here. However, you could also, as we saw, just simply click on that and bring up a proper GPS, and that way you could fly a full flight plan. If you wanted to fly this around the country a bit further, maybe take it into onto VATSIM or something like that, you have that option. And that's going to be particularly useful for just navigating if you're not used to using VORs. However, if you are, and like I say, you've got my tutorial if you need it, then I would say you have no trouble. Simply tune the VOR down in this lower panel, and here it is. So if I set the course, as you know, I'll set this to match 120. Further, 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 and we should see the course path sort of a line in the middle. There it comes. And you can see here, so we're flying towards it. So you could use this to fly even an instrument approach in this aeroplane. Let's level off at 7,000 feet, that's probably high enough. Over beautiful San Diego. Now, there is no autopilot by default, but if you enable this, let's just get tripped out. I am using an Xbox controller, so that does make life difficult sometimes. You can also engage the autopilot. If I just go down here, and we go autopilot, and I can put it into out, and you can put it into nav mode, or just it's in wings level mode at the moment. And there we go, autopilot level, and then I'll press out, and there we go, out. It's going to maintain 6,850 feet. So if you're wanting to fly a bit further, you have that option as well, and we can bring back on the power. Good. Now let's go back to our previous. There's our VOR off to the right, very close now, so we can turn around and head back in and do our display. To do the smoke, you have these little buttons over here, and you simply press one, and then look outside, and you'll have a beautiful trail. Got white smoke there, and you can swap it. They provide a few colours: red, blue, and yellow. Yellow does look a little bit like you're either leaking or on fire, but there we go. So I'll have it ready with white, and we'll turn that off. Okay, let's just check the checklist to make sure we haven't missed anything. So we've done the takeoff, which was brakes, rotate, and landing it up. Climb, throttle, landing lights can go off. We're going to leave it on for the air show. And then the rest is pretty obvious. We'll just talk about the landing when it comes time to land. Now, as we turn around back to back to San Diego for the air show, I just want to show you how stable this airplane is if you let it be. So let's just roll the wings level, and if I just let go, look at that. It's got a nice, straight, stable wing. It doesn't try and continue the roll or do anything untoward. It's a nice machine, even without the autopilot. I actually really, really like it. Very easy, very gentle, so you can just get it trimmed out and just sit there and just cruise along. It's a real treat. I do like it a lot. And likewise, once you start getting a bit of speed into it, it starts behaving really nicely. Something I did want to do as we head back there, got about 10 miles to go, I'm just going to climb up. We'll go full power, raise the nose, pointing towards the VOR now, wings to level, and you'll see this really wacky artificial horizon. Look at this. It actually runs out of room because it's an old style artificial horizon. It can't go all the way over the top, you see. It specifically stops itself so it doesn't topple. So eventually it just blocks out and just goes this climb disc. Likewise, if I shove the nose all the way down, and you can see this, yeah, that's when you push it too far, it just blocks out at dive. So I think that's quite cool, and not something I've seen before. So get the wings in the middle there, and that's neutral. Another reason to fly this airplane from the original flight deck, certainly. So let's now try out a bit of a stall turn. I'm just curious to see how it behaves. So I'm going to reduce the power. I'm not sure what speed you would have flown this at. We're currently doing 300-ish knots, pretty fast. So let's let the speed wash off a bit, and then see if we can climb it into the vertical. There's a stall warner. Up, 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 up. Speed washing off, speed washing off. Through 100 knots now. And then rudder. Are we going to get it round? It's going to work. Oh, we're going to tail slide instead. Look at that. It's pretty cool. I also noticed that these little vents open up on here. I'm not sure what these are for, whether that's in order to get more air into the engine, or quite why that's designed like that. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe that's once we're underway. But as you can see, very easy, stable airplane, even if you mess up a maneuver like that. Let's actually try and stall it. So I'm going to power all the way off and just raise the nose. Always worth stalling. Maybe we'll even try a spin, although we're a little bit low for that in a jet airplane. 7,000 feet would not really be enough for this this machine to recover, I wouldn't have thought. through 200 knots. Now you can increase this, of course, if you put up those dive flaps underneath. They are big and powerful, but I'm going to actually put them away. Otherwise our recovery could go a little bit awry. And let's hold the nose, hold the nose, hold the nose against the stall warner. Really high. They are big straight wings, so it doesn't surprise me. And we'll go full back. And that's it. Just sort of mushes forward. Very stable. In fact, it's dropping the nose for us. This is the sort of thing you would want from a training aircraft where pilots are learning to fly an airplane. Let's put it in the rudder, see if we can get it to spin. No. No. It's just sort of mushing down, gently lowering those wings. So, in fact, it's basically just flying now. So we'll recover. Let the nose come down. Airspeed's increasing. Start applying some power. Gently raise the nose, aiming not to stall again. Good. So that's a good sign. That means we should have some fun flying some aerobatics at low level. Let's head over to San Diego Airport. I really think you could have a lot of fun with this airplane, just flying it around low level, taking it around places you know, and just zooming around as you want to, but also getting a nice view of it. It's a great little airplane for cruising around in. I am enjoying it more than I thought I would, I must confess. I wasn't overly excited about the idea of a T-33, and that's through just the sheer lack of knowledge about the aircraft myself, and also, you know, being based in the UK for my whole life, I haven't really seen any, so it doesn't hold much of you know, childhood memories for me. But it's actually absolutely lovely to get a go in this machine. I'm really enjoying it. So let's bring the power back now. Getting ready. Here's our run-in. That is San Diego runway in front of us. Get the recorder going for a bit of a replay. We'll go for the smoke on the white, and we're doing 400 knots. That's probably a bit fast, so we'll go in and we'll just go for a loop to start with. About 500 feet. This approach to San Diego gets you very close to the buildings, even if you fly it on a 3 degrees. So there we go. Right. Down we go. Smoke on. 400 knots. Absolutely ridiculous speed. This will be one massive loop. Down the runway. Holding it level. And then up we go. Pull, 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 pull. And you'll hear power on. Take us through the top. Squeeze down into our seats. As we look over, we should see the smoke. There it is. How cool is that? Getting the stall warner up there. Reducing the power now as we come over the top. Just widening it out a bit. Pulling through, pulling through. You could put the dive flaps out now if you really wanted. I don't think we'll need to. But you might hear the G kick in a second. There you go. I love that G effect. That's worked nicely. Power on now. Ooh, sounds like I've managed to flame out the engine. That's quite impressive. I did not expect that. I had practiced this earlier. I must have missed something. Let's get the engine going again. Right, have we managed? I think we ran out of fuel in our sensor tank. There we go. Engine's alive. And it's going. We made it. After gliding out to sea a little bit there, the engine is back to life. Now let's just have a look at our fuel. I strongly suspect our sensor tank ran out. Oh, our fuselage tank, sorry. Not sure. We do have fuel still. Trickling down, 37%, but there we go. Right, anyway, all the pumps are on now. Let's carry on with the show. Okay, next run in now with our white smoke. This time we'll try and do, I believe it's an Immelman. We're going to do a half loop and then roll back on ourselves. So down the runway again, 200 feet. There we go. Speed's good, power on. And up we go. It's just lovely for these you know, not aggressive aerobatics. Bringing the power back now as we come over the top. 45-degree angle down. Roll the wings level. Straight down. Probably a bit too wide, that. I have no idea what real airshow pilots do to make this all look so good, but I'm sure it's a lot better than this. And then you'd roll out, hopefully, at 250 feet. A little bit high, so we'll do it again. Up and away. Hear the G-force. At least we have still got an engine this time. A little bit tighter on this G there, powering back. I will do this one straight into a roll. So we'll roll out, roll the nose up. Watch out for the G because it can creep up on you. We're doing 400 knots here, so you could suddenly run out of energy and just be diving at the ground. And a nice big lazy roll. Just lovely. Absolutely love it. This is a treat. One of my favourite handling aircraft I've had the pleasure of flying in this sim. Squeezing it round. Let's do another roll to bring it in this way, down the runway. And should we add some wingmen? I think we should while we're here. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? Let's bring in wingmen. And we'll take... Let's take 2 other wingmen, please. Cover me. Full power. Do another Immelman. 300 knots should cover us. Where's our friends? There they are. Look at that. Beautiful. Smoke on as well. They get a little confused as you come over the top, though. Now this surely is what Flight Simulator is all about. Flying an airshow over San Diego runway. Where have they gone? Where have they gone? So they can find us again. Beautiful. Look at that. That's awesome. And we'll take them up for a roll. See how that looks. Oh, it's good fun, eh? You can confuse them if you're a little too aggressive. I can get away from them. You can change the settings though, make them a little more serious. And here we go, losing internet again. Oh dear. Okay, so that's enough fun now. Let's take this airplane back in for a landing. There's the airfield. We'll land in on runway 27 there. So what I'll do is just do a little loop around the city to wash off the speed and energy and get the airplane in a landing configuration. Absolutely love San Diego, by the way. One of my favourite cities I've ever been to. What a glorious place to live. Right, let's bring the nose round. That is the USS Midway aircraft carrier. Pretty cool. It is sort of half modelled there. Look at that, you've got the airplanes on the deck though. Awesome. Right, nose round. It's not getting lower actually. I don't think the residents will be happy with us flying around at 600 feet. I'll keep the speed at 200 knots initially. I don't want to get any much slower. This airplane does need a lot of power when it's on final approach. It can get itself pretty slow once you've got the gear and flaps out. So there's the runway, doing a loop of the city. There's the San Diego Convention Center, famous for Comic-Con. Let's drop the landing gear and the first stage of flap. Speed will start washing off now on its own. I'm going to leave the power alone. I don't want to reduce it too much. Trimming back, 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 back. Next stage of flaps, flaps to 40. Flaps to 60. See how the speed is washing off even as we descend. This is a very draggy configuration. Flaps to 80. And flaps full. Speed is now 150. You see I'm still descending with power on, and it's just speed is coming back to where I want it, 130. So now we're going to shallow it out. I'm going to add a bit more power, or we're going to get slow very quickly. I bet these things will be quite noisy to live under when they're on final approach. There's about 140 knots. That's about right. Bit more power needed. Bit more power needed. It's just starting to sink, 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 sink. Huge flaps out there. And you see what I mean about being a little bit pitch sensitive just in this at the lower speeds when you're on takeoff and landing. Power back, holding the nose. There's touchdown. and keeping it straight with the rudder, onto the brakes. So that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. That is the T-33 Shooting Star from Lockheed by IniBuilds in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think this is a rather nice add-on aircraft. I think the texturing and the exterior model is all very nice, if not the highest quality we've ever seen from an aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It certainly stands up there and holds its own, especially for its price point at around £20. Like I say, I do wish IniBuilds would advertise it with the actual full price in mind, but there we go. That probably is just a feature of buying it through the IniBuilds store. I like the texturing, but my main appeal of this airplane is the handling. It just flies so nicely, especially if you can just get past those initial pitchiness on takeoff and landing at lower speeds, and if you adjust your controls, I think you'll find it actually is a very nice feeling airplane all round. It also has some excellent sound effects, and the fact that the ejectors are interactive makes that you can take it from cold and dark with little to no trouble. It is a very easy airplane to get going in. I really enjoy that. If you want to use this for more advanced stuff like navigating, flying longer flights, you can. You have the option of that glass cockpit to put in the autopilot and so on, but I don't think that's where it really shines. It's best for flying around, just aerobatics, low level, just take it for a spin and just enjoy the actual feeling of flight. That's where I think this holds its own, so it may not be for everyone for that reason. That's it then. There'll be plenty more videos, guides and live streams coming to the channel soon, so do please subscribe if you'd like to see those. Otherwise, we'll see you in another video or live stream or guide soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.